Hello students, this is Dilip Udhani, Assistant Professor at LJ Institute of Engineering and Technology. In the last lecture, we have discussed how to find out Pi when x is e raised to ax plus b. Now in case number 2, we will discuss how to find out Pi when x is sine of ax plus b or cosine of ax plus b. The formula for Pi is 1 over function of dx. Now replacing x by sine of ax plus b, and in the denominator you will find function of d square. So what you have to do, you have to just replace d square by minus a square, right? And if you replace d square by minus a square, so it will become f of minus a square. So it must not be 0, then you can write down in this way, okay? And if f of minus a square is equals to 0, then what you have to do, you have to differentiate f of d square, and that will become f dash d square, and then after you have to multiply by x in the numerator. So it will become x into sine of ax plus b divided by f dash d square. Now you have to apply the same concept. Simply you have to replace d square by minus a square. So it will become f dash minus a square. Then you can write down in this way only when f dash minus a square is not equals to 0. Now you can repeat the same process. Okay. Now I will explain you this case with the help of one example. This is example number 1. We have to solve this differential equation, that is d square minus 4d plus 3y equals to sine 1x. Now this differential equation is of the form function of dy equals to x. So its solution will be y equals to cf plus pi, where cf is a complementary function and pi is a particular integral. For complementary function, what we have to do, we have to write down an auxiliary equation, and that is we have to equate function of d to 0. Your function of d is d square minus 4d plus 3, and that is equals to 0. Now you have to factorize this quadratic equation by splitting the middle term, that is 4d. You have to find out two numbers such that their product is 3 and their addition is 4, that is 3 1 ja 3. So you have to write down first term d square and last term plus 3 will be as it is, and you have to split minus 4d into minus 1d and minus 3d, and then after you have to take common between two terms, and after simplification you will get two factors, that is d minus 1 and d minus 3, and we have to equate these factors to 0. So by equating d minus 1 to 0, we will be having the value of d equals to 1, and if we will equate d minus 3 to 0, so we will be having the value of d equals to 3. Here we are getting different real values of d, that is 1 and 3. So CF will be e raised to 1x and e raised to 3x, and then after we have to write down its linear combination. So final CF will be C1 e raised to 1x plus C2 e raised to 3x. Now we will find out Pi. The formula of Pi is 1 over function of d Rx. Here function of d is d square minus 4d plus 3, and Rx or x, that is sine 1x. Okay, so the value of a is 1. So in the denominator we have d square over here, and we have to replace d square by minus a square, and value of a is 1. So 1 square will become 1, and minus a square, it will become minus 1. So replacing d square by minus 1, so it will become 1 over minus 1 plus 3, the result will become 2, and this is minus 4d, and this is sine 1x. Now you can see that In the denominator we have function of d only, and we have to make it function of d square. Is we are in the case of sine of ax plus b or cosine of ax plus b. So what you have to do, you have to multiply the numerator and denominator by the conjugate of 2 minus 4d. To find out the conjugate, what you have to do, you have to simply change the sign of the middle term. This is minus, so you have to multiply the numerator and denominator by 2 plus 4d. So in the numerator we will be having 2 plus 4d, and in the denominator we will be having two terms, 2 minus 4d and 2 plus 4d. So on that we have to apply the formula of a minus b, a plus b. So it will become a square minus b square. So the value of a is 2, so 2 square is 4, then after minus 4d square, so it will become 16d square, and this is sine 1x. Okay, now again we have to replace d square by minus 1, so it will become minus minus plus, 16 1 is 16, and 16 plus 4 is 20. So overall result will become 2 plus 4d by 20 into sine 1x. Now we have to apply this operator on sine 1x, so it will become 2 sine x plus 4d sine x divided by 20. So 2 sine x, that will be as it is, and 4d sine x, it means derivative of sine x, so derivative of sine x is cos x. So dividing 2 sine x by 20, we have sine x by 10, and this 40 by 20, okay, this 4 by 20, it will become 1 over 5, and derivative of sine x is cos x. So this is the required pi, and the general solution is y equals to cf plus pi, and cf is c1 e raised to 1x plus c2 e raised to 3x, and pi is sin x over 10 plus cos x over 5. Okay, now we will see problem number 2 related to this topic, that is d square plus 9y equals to 2 sin 3x. Again you can see that this problem is of the form function of dy equals to rx or x. Okay, so its solution will be y equals to cf plus pi, where cf is a complementary function and pi is a particular integral. Okay, so first of all we will find out pi. To find out pi, we have to find out an auxiliary equation, and an auxiliary equation is given by equating function of d to 0. A function of d is d square plus 9, and that is equals to 0. So d square plus 9 equals to 0, so value of d square, that will be minus 9. So writing minus 9 as 9 into minus 1, and minus 1, that is nothing but I square. So we have d square equals to 9i square. So what will be the value of d? So that will be square root of 9i square, so that will be plus minus 3i. Now you can see that this is a complex number. If you have been given the complex number, that is alpha plus minus I beta, so in that case, how to write down CF? So that will be e raised to alpha x cos beta x, and then after e raised to alpha x sin beta x. Then after you have to write down its linear combination, that is c1 e raised to alpha x cos beta x plus c2 e raised to alpha x sin beta x, where alpha is a real part and beta is an imaginary part. Here real part is absent, so the value of alpha is 0 and the value of beta is 3. So if you will write down e raised to 0x, so it will become 1 into cos 3x. Then after e raised to 0x, so that will become 1 into sin 3x, and then after its linear combination, so overall CF will become c1 cos 3x plus c2 sin 3x. Okay, now we will find out pi, and the formula of pi, that is 1 over function of d rx. Okay, rx or x. Here rx is 2 sin 3x. Okay, so this is 2 sin 3x. Now what we have to do, we have to replace d square by minus a square. Here the value of a is 3 and 3 square is 9. Okay, so d square will become minus 9. So if we will replace d square by minus 9, so in the denominator we will be having 0, minus 9 plus 9, so it will become 0. So what we will do in that case, right? So we have to differentiate d square plus 9 with respect to d. Derivative of d square, that is 2d, and plus 9 is a constant value, right? So its derivative will be 0, and this 2 will be as it is, and sine 3x will be as it is. Now as you know, we have differentiated the denominator, that is d square plus 9 with respect to d once. So we have to multiply numerator by x. Okay, now we can see that this 2 and 2 will cancel out. So we have x into 1 over d sine 3x. Now all of you know that d means derivative. So what will be 1 upon d? So 1 upon d, that will be integration, right? Because differentiation and integration are inverse of each other. If d is a differentiation, then 1 upon d is an integration. So 1 upon d sine 3x, that will be integration of sine 3x with respect to x. And integration of sine x, answer is minus cos x. And integration of sine 3x, that will be cos 3x divided by 3, because here the multiplier of x is 3. So integration of sine 3x, that will be minus cos 3x by 3, and this x will be as it is. Okay, or what you can do, you can multiply this function and divide it by d. So in the numerator you will be having d, and in the denominator you will be having d square. Then after replace d square by minus a square. Okay, so it will become minus 9. So in the denominator you will be having minus 9, but in the numerator you will be having d of sine 3x, and d of sine 3x, it means derivative of sine 3x, and derivative of sine is cos, right? So derivative of sine 3x, that will be cos 3x into 3, and 3 by minus 9, it will become minus 1 by 3. So you will get the same result, that is minus x cos 3x by 3. Okay, so this is the required pi. Hence the general solution, that is y equals to cf plus pi. Cf is c1 cos 3x plus c2 sin 3x. Okay, and plus pi is minus x cos 3x by 3. So this is the required solution of the differential equation d square plus 9y equals to 2 sin 3x. So today we have discussed case number 2. In the next lecture we will discuss case number 3. Okay, thank you for watching this video.